For quite a while now, I've been working on a movie about India and my journey to India. It actually films the next stage, what happens after Messages from the Universe, in which I go to India now and do the remedies that were prescribed in Messages from the Universe, my book. So this second book is about the remedies and so forth. So I'll be probably talking about this for a fair bit. It looks like the book's probably going to be coming out ahead of the movie itself, because Jane and I are in the process of selling it at the moment. We've made the film with a good producer, Louis Frost, and we're taking it over to Cannes and talking in Cannes about sales and so forth. So it's not quite there yet, although we've got some of the sales looking like they're looking good. But part of the book is about the remedies, as I've said, but it's also about my encounters with various holy people in India. And one of the ones that was most interesting was when I went to see the ashram of Ramana Maharishi. And I've mentioned him before already, actually. But he's always asked the big question in life. Now, I don't think anybody can give you all the answers to things, you know. I mean, everybody wants ease, you know, what's it all about? Why am I here? All these sort of questions. We want easy answers, don't we, nowadays? And this is why so many people get away with some of the nonsense sort of teachings that just spoon feed you easy answers and you don't have to do the work, you know. And it's the same in religion too. We give you easy answers and, you know, that's it. You know, I want someone to do all the thinking for me, right? And Facebook's like it too, and everybody's posting up wisdom of other people, but never their own wisdom. It's like parrots, you know, parrot fashion wisdom. Now, the thing that's important is not the answers, because you can't suddenly be given the answer and then you understand everything and you're absolutely happy endlessly. You know, you hope to attain eternal bliss in life. That's perhaps part of what it is, which is a sort of a happiness without cause. You know, not a mad happiness, but a happiness of endless blissfulness. You know, in the knowledge of reality, right? So how are you going to get to that? Well, an answer won't give it to you, will it? Someone can say, this is the answer, and therefore everything's all right from that point on, you know. Well, you're just burying your head in the sand because it's someone else's philosophy. It's another person's ideas. So we have to actually do some work, you know. We might get a free sample of bliss in our life, you know. Something might happen to us spontaneously and we get a glimpse, an understanding, a sense of the wonder of all things, a sense of great union with the universe for a short second, and then it's gone again. So we have to do some work. And part of the work is asking the right questions. Now, I referenced a moment ago about that part of the time in India. I spent some time at the ashram of, now long dead actually, but the teacher Ramana Maharishi. And he had one of the potential right answers, which is to ask the question, and he said you don't have to ask any other question than this through life, is to continually ask yourself the question, who am I? Right? Now, he didn't invent this philosophy. This has been around for quite some time, because it came from the old Sanskrit word, which is, it's a Sanskrit word which is koham, right? Koham. Now, we don't need to get into all this intellectualism about this and languages and things, but it's quite an interesting word, because this was, in the Vedas it says ask yourself koham, and koham means, ko is the Sanskrit for the word who, and ham is I. So who am I? Who am I? Right? So koham was the starting point. So we ask ourselves the question, who am I? All right? Well, you say, well, I'm Craig, or I'm this and that. But think about it. How do you actually get to finding out what you really are? For example, you could say, well, you know, when a baby's born, it has no understanding of its body when it's in the womb, does it? It's just in the womb. It's just conscious, you know. It doesn't. Then it's born, and if you look at the way a baby looks at its hands and things, it looks at them with wonder, as if that's not part of himself. You know, it's as if they don't even realise that, you know, I am the body. You know, because most of us are thinking all the time that I'm the body. That's who we quite often think of us as. Oh, I've hurt my hand, you know. But then it's my hand. It belongs to somebody, you know. So the But I'm not my hand, you know, because you know, there's my hand, right? But I can observe it, you know, I can see it. So that's not me, that's my hand. And if I cut that hand off, you know, I'm still me, you know, whether the hand's me or not. So in the teachings, it says to get to this answer of who am I by going through the process of what they call neti, not this, not this. I am not this hand. Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm not the hand, because if I cut it off, it's gone, you know. And I'm therefore not this arm. I could cut this arm off. I could even cut everything off my body, and I'm not this body. In fact, I'm not even the brain when it comes down to it, because, you know, you can put the brain in pickle it or something like mine is, pickle it for a while, and it you know, it's still not me. You know, I'm the functioning beyond that brain, aren't I? I'm my brains are like a biological computer, and somewhere deep down in there, there's a software that works. Well, perhaps that's me. You see, we can use our mind to ask this, not this, not this. So I'm not that body, and then am I that software? And if I'm that software, you know, and what bit of it am I? You know, am I the bit that's the bits, the perceptions? Am I the memories? No, I can forget something, can't I? And I'm still me. You know, I can forget whole chunks of things. And as you get older, you forget names and all sorts of things. You know, but I'm still me. You know, and then there's that sense of self that's there still. There's something beyond it, and there's something. What is it? Where is it in that software where that sense of being comes from? Am I my personality? And so, you know, I've asked that question myself a lot, and of course, when I ask it from the standpoint as being a medium, I have to think a little bit further, because, you know, as a medium, I'm aware of my own thoughts, but I'm also aware of the thoughts of other people, you know? So what's the difference between one of my own thoughts and the thoughts that's come to me by telepathy, for example? You see, for example, when if I'm doing something telepathic, I sit quietly, watch the thoughts come into my mind, and look out for thoughts that don't seem to be my own, you know? Now, that's not schizophrenia, which is good. I mean, the schizophrenic could have those problems too, you know. I'm not those thoughts, you know. And therefore, what happens with mediumship, for example, is thoughts appear in the field of my consciousness that are not mine. They belong to the spirit world. And I can prove that, because when a thought comes in, someone's sat in front of me, and the name comes in, and I say, Fred Barnes, would you understand that? You know, oh, that was my grandfather's name. So confirmation, that thought has been given to me by the spirit world. I haven't got Fred Barnes or whatever name comes to mind from out of my own unconscious mind. I haven't got it from. I might have got it from telepathy, but that's another question. But most likely idea is that it's come from the spirit world. So Fred Barnes, therefore, is existing outside of his body. We can prove through mediumship that we can exist as spirit outside of our body. So, am I spirit? Yeah. Well, yes, but again, what is that spirit? What part of that spirit is me? You know. Now, the Buddha says that, you know, it's all an illusion. All of this is an illusion, because the self, as it were, this sense of identity, has no inherent existence. He says it has no foundation whatsoever. It's an illusion. Not this, not this, not this. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not this. You know. But all I'm left with is the question: is I'm not this? Neti. But I am. You see, like, for example, going back to the hand again, if I cut my finger off, you know, I'm going to feel immense pain. So, in a way, you know, I kind of am this, or I'm certainly connected with this, you know. So, perhaps the neti needs to be looked at again, you know, because there was an interesting one. I listened recently to a really brilliant talk by a Sai Baba devotee. I can't remember what his name was. You know, I'm into the Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba. But Satya Sai Baba said you have to refine the neti. Because neti says, not this. But what if you were to say, not only this? Now that made a lot of sense to me. You see? Because I'm not only the hand. I am the hand, but I'm not only the hand. Right? So, I'm not this. No, I'm not. I'm observing it. I'm the observer. But I'm also it. In a way, I'm connected to it, aren't I? I'm even in a funny sort of way connected to things I own. Because in the world, if someone goes out and smashes up something that's really valuable to me, I'm going to be really upset. why am I'm being upset just as like I'm feeling pain in my hand. I'm feeling a different sort of pain, not connected by nerves, but I'm still attached to it, aren't I? So there's this feeling that, oh, everything that I'm kind of connected to is kind of part of me, but not me, you know? So I'm not this, but I'm not only this. Really? So you get the idea. So where do we get to with this when we follow the train of thought? Well, like I said, nobody can really give you the answers. I'm just suggesting the method you use to start asking yourself the questions. Because, okay, we get to a final conclusion. Now, one way that I often work in my meditation is to do the so hum meditation, you know, to watch the breath. Inward breath so, outward breath hum. It's based on the idea of the sound of the breath, right? And that observational thing gets you into a state of meditation, because all there is you, the breath comes and goes, and if you just watch the breath, you enter a state where you're in a state of kind of pure being. You know, your thoughts drop away, there's just you and the breath, you and your basics, your life force, and that's it, you know, that's just, you know, so it gets me very close to the idea of understanding who I am. And there's perhaps a clue in that word, you know, so hum, you know I mentioned the word cohum at the beginning, who am I? Well, so hum means I am he, right? So it's used on the breath in the idea of I am the breath. I am it. It is me. We are one, right? So the answer to the question, who am I, is I am he. I am it. I am all, right? So it's, I am the hand. I am whatever, my body, you know, but I am also, it is also, I am more than that. I am all of it. I am it and I'm not it, right? I am it and I'm not it. It's the whole. I'm the whole thing, but not the whole thing. It's a bit like a fractal pattern, you know. The more you break it up, the more it stays the same. No matter how small you go, no matter how big you go on a fractal. You know, you've probably seen fractals on the internet. It's always the same pattern. Always the same pattern. Always the same pattern. It's infinitely in every direction, like a snowflake. The more you break a snowflake up, the tiny little snowflakes exactly the same, right down to the atomic level, right? And we're like that too, right down to the atomic level and beyond. You know, we are the sameness. There's a connection, a connectivity with everything we are. So when we look deep into ourselves and ask ourselves this question, what am I? Who am I? You know, and I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm more than this, you know. I'm not only this, you know. You get to the understanding that perhaps you're all of it. You know, because ultimately, if you keep asking that question, you really discover that you are finite and infinite at the same time. Once you get away from the intellectualism of this process, once you stop turning it into a sort of a mental game and you start experiencing it, that's when it starts to become different. Then you go beyond that parrot knowledge that I talked about, beyond other people's ideas and this person's enlightenment and that one's, and find your own. Because only in that way can you understand this. It has to be realized. It can't be known, right? So it's a bit like the Zen Buddhists did, you know. They put themselves in an impossible situation. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Oh, well, it can be, it can't be, you know. And they, does a dog have a Buddha nature? And they ask you all these sort of odd questions that can't be answered until the brain basically caves in on itself and you go, Satori, I understand, right? Well, it's the same process, the same idea, you know, that we have to experience it, you know. So we can ask ourselves the question, who am I? And we can say, not this, not this, not only this. And we come eventually to an understanding that we're all of it. You know, that we have an infinite nature and a finite nature. And they're the same. They're the same. Whether infinite or finite, it's the same. We are basically a complete and total paradox. That's why the brain can't grasp it. But we can understand that paradox of our reality if we just ask the right question. And one of the right questions is, who am I? Jane and I now do our spiritual work for our foundation. All the profits that come from things like our conferences and theatres and workshops and all those exciting things now go into this foundation, which ultimately has the long-term plan of building centres in the UK and maybe around the world one day. But meanwhile, we've been doing a lot of direct spiritual work with it. We've been going out, feeding people in India, giving to the destitute, giving to beggars. We've helped feed schools, helped orphanages, and we've even given cows to older people that have no other form of income. So mediumship can change your life, but it can also help people directly in the world. So go to the links at the end and find out all about what Jane and I are trying to do. And you can do a lot just by sharing these videos on social media. Help us get the word out. Help us to do something really good in this world. Click on this picture of me to subscribe to our channel and see all of our latest videos as soon as they're published. Or click on this next video for more of our stuff.